All right, folks, welcome to the Buckmasters Outdoors Podcast. I got a good friend and a rock star on YouTube, Mr. Robert Arrington of Deer Meat for Dinner. My man.
It's nice to see you. Hey.
I tell you what, we have had a lot of fun over the years, but you've got so many fans, and, you know, we're going to go through the history and stuff, but tell me a little bit about your background, where you're from, what your hobbies were, how'd you get started in the outdoors? Because I think it's a fascinating story.
Well, it's an interesting story. I grew up in Jupiter, Florida, on the East Coast there. As a little kid, all I ever wanted to do was just be outside, riding my mini bike, hunting with a pellet gun. I just wanted to be outside. My dad was a hunter, and my mom was always into raising chickens and rabbits and had birds and whatnot. So our life was always outdoors, and I was always wanting to talk and have a good time. And when I was 7 years old, I was hit by a car riding my ATC. About killed me, smashed my face and my hip, and literally crushed my left foot. So I spent a lot of time in the hospital, numerous orthopedic operations, and it was during that time that I really, they told me I wouldn't have a foot, and I wouldn't be able to walk, and I wouldn't be able to do all these things, and all I ever wanted to do is play baseball and hunt and fish, and I just remember sincerely praying to God to please let me keep my foot, please let me hunt and fish, and as I got out of the hospital, pretty much a miracle, but my foot, although it's still smashed in half, it works, and allows me to do what I do, and over the course of growing up, we spent a lot of time snorkeling down the Florida Keys and fishing for fish offshore. Nothing big, but I always remembered watching, as I would see all the big boats going out Jupiter Inlet, I would always think, man, how do you get on that boat?
Right.
How do you go that far? Because you start out as a fisherman, how far can you cast? And then you get on a boat, and it's how far can you go on that boat? And for me, I always wanted to go to the other side of the horizon. And I met some people who had a big sport fishing boat, and they said, yeah, man, we pay people to fish with us. And it was at that moment I knew that I have to figure out how to be the person getting paid to go fishing. I don't think I'm a dumb guy, but I never made good grades in school. My mind just wasn't focused on math and English. It was focused on deer and turkeys and fish, And so I got out of school and I started buying and selling fish. And that was what I knew. And that led me into working on a big sport fishing boat. And the more I went on that sport fishing boat, my boss asked me, he says, where do you want to go? Where should we take the boat? And I said, Costa Rica. Los Sueños had just opened up there on the Pacific corridor. And I said, let's go to Costa Rica. Fishing's great there. And so we went to Costa Rica. And while I was in Costa Rica, I worked out a deal with the local condominium association. They would have people come down and rent those condos from anywhere from $1,000 to $3,000 a night. And I said, I should be making commission on this because I'm putting a lot of people in your condos.
Absolutely.
You're always just trying to make a little bit.
Yeah.
And then I met some guys who had a show called Real Adventures. So I went to the condo association. I said, if I get a TV show down here, I want my commission on every single condo rented from that show. And I said, I'll cover all the costs. So they said yes. Then Real Adventures comes down and we started doing our thing. And immediately I knew I have found my passion in life. And that was in entertaining. Whenever I was a little kid, I'd be watching your show. I'd be watching Buckmasters. I'd be watching the fishing shows, Jose Wahebe. And I would be out fishing in a pond just like this, throwing my rattle trap and my rubber worms and topwater plugs, and I would be talking to a camera that was not even there.
Right.
Just pretending that I was making my fishing show or my hunting show. And so once I got my first opportunity, they were like, man, have you ever done this before? I said, I've been doing it all my life. There just wasn't a camera there.
Right.
And there's a very famous motivational speaker named Les Brown, and he says, one of his key features of his speech, his main speech is, it's better to be prepared without an opportunity than to have an opportunity and not be prepared. So whenever I got that opportunity, mentally I was prepared, I was ready, I was excited, and I just wanted to do my best. And that led me into working with Real Adventures. And the more I worked with Real Adventures, then I said, you know what? I want to do my own thing. I wanted to have my own TV show. And that's whenever I started Respect Outdoors, which was basically an outdoor lifestyle channel. It was basically what I do now, but on Sportsman Channel. And it just didn't quite fit. I wasn't in the right time. But what was the right time is whenever I met you.
Well, you know, and that goes back, I don't even remember the year. Do you remember the year?
Yes, sir. It was 2009. It was January 2009.
And we were at the Golden Moose Awards there in Las Vegas for the Outdoor Channel. And you came up and said, hey, I've been watching your show, and I'm a big fan. And you had a blue marlin right there on your shirt.
That was part of my logo. The Respect Outdoors, I had a blue marlin crossing the T, and I had a rack making the R.
Well, I said, if you want to become a bigger fan, take me blue marlin fishing. He said, all right, Jack. He said, you're on. And I went, yeah, right. You'll call me, won't you? And you did. And we went to Las Buenas, and you hooked us up on the boat, the Double Trouble, out of Texas. Dave Noodling, who's one of the top blue marlin. I think he might have won the Guide of the Year blue marlin or something. Won all the tournaments and stuff. So, but I remember my wife went down. We had 2 other couples, and I said, all right, because my wife was dialed in. She said, you're going on a fishing trip. I said, oh no, we're going to take you to a wonderful spot. But I knew the only way to get them out there, it was going to have to be slick calm, because those girls didn't want to be in the rough. But I'll never forget. We got out there and we were catching those. Is it Pacific Sails?
Pacific Sails.
And we're catching the sails, and everybody's rotating rods and everything, and everybody was having a good time. And all of a sudden, the rod went down. A little Martha, man, she's probably 5'3", not even 100 pounds. And you had those pin 30s out there. I never forgot that. And this fish was taking it and finally got it real, but it never showed itself like the sail. I was going, oh, maybe this sail doesn't want to show itself. And I remember I was watching the rod right there, and it was getting so close to the boat, and then all of a sudden, that blue marlin come up out of the water. And I was videoing. I videoed it for the TV show just with my little camera. And that blue marlin probably went 1,000 yards to the west and then took off to the north. And I never forgot that. And remember, I said, Mark, you want to give up that pole? No, I'm not giving up. So an hour later, that blue marlin's coming to the boat. And out of the blue, you jump into the water. And I was going, what the heck are you doing? And I didn't know this, but you had your camera behind you. And you went under the water videoing the blue marlin come up. And this blue marlin I thought was going to spear you. And I said, that guy's crazy. And that right there showed me your personality right off the bat. You were going to do cutting edge stuff. I mean, and that's how we met. And I never forgot that trip. It was one of the favorite trips I ever had. And we caught a lot of fish, and everybody had a lot of fun.
You know what? This is the life that we live. You don't pretend to do what you do. You do what you do.
Right.
And I don't pretend to do what I do. I do what I do, whether I'm in the water or I'm on land or wherever I am. I'm always trying to learn. I believe number one question people ask me do you like to hunt or fish more? And it's 50-50, right down the middle, like old Bubba said.
Exactly.
I believe hunting makes me a better fisherman, and fishing makes me a better hunter, because there's applied knowledge to both of them.
Right.
And I can tell you right now, if you're in your tree stand and the deer are moving, these fish will be biting, because I am 1,000,000% sure that they all feed on the lunar cycle. The moon dictates their feeding behavior.
Interesting. Well, when we got going with with our TV show, our producers, Mark and the guys, wanted me to start doing some crazy stuff. Okay, and I was going, all right, because we were all about entertaining. I learned a long time ago there's a lot better deer hunters out there on TV than I was, or didn't have a TV show. So I said, look, I want to be an outdoor entertainer. I just want to entertain and have fun. So they called me and said, hey, there's a group in Tennessee called Girls Gone Grabbling. I said, what is that? And they said, catching catfish with your hands. I was, what? And remember, I called you. I said, look, I need an underwater camera guy. Will you come help us? Because I don't know what they're trying to get me into.
Yeah, I remember that clearly.
My Lord, that scared the heck out of me. I can't imagine y'all going down there, holding your breath, putting your hand in there, wanting a catfish to bite you, and then you try to pull it up. I was sitting there going, something isn't right here. But
I'll tell you something about that show that no one knows to this day. So if you remember when, so for those of you listening and watching abroad, me and Jackie, we're in the water, and you've got your whole crew, and I'm tickled pink to be there, but I wanted to catch one of them thing so bad. So there was a driveway going down into the water, and one of the guys I'd already filmed underwater, and the fish bit my camera, and so I'm like, oh my goodness. So they said, Arrington, block that hole. So I'm over there, and I had my hand in that hole.
Yeah.
And the 40-pounder that the girl caught, I had that fish caught, and I handed that fish to her.
Really?
I had that fish blocked in with my left leg like this. And whenever he hit me like 3 times, final last, once I got him caught, I'm hanging on to him. I'm like, I just felt him. And when she put her hand in the hole, she grabbed him out of my hand.
So the game was there was a boat dock. Just visualize a boat dock at your lake or river place or whatever, and the catfish are they're spawning under the dock.
That's right.
And what you do is you take a team on one side that blocks the hole.
Yep.
It keeps them going out the other side, and you're on this side, and you're sticking your hands in there, and that male is mad and he wants to bite you to get you away. Is that the game?
The females or the males. I've actually gone and done it more since then, but either one of them will bite you. And the blue cats bite much harder than the flatheads. Yeah. But the flathead is the first one that I got. And I was addicted to that.
Yeah.
I grew up catching lobsters and even catching groupers by hand, but that's a lot of fun.
But think about that. That's been what, 10, 15 years ago?
Well, that would have been probably the summer of 2009, because we met in January at the Moose Awards.
Right.
We went fishing in Costa Rica in February. Yeah. You came back and you called me right after that, and we would have fished in the summer.
But we were before our time, I guess, because everybody out on YouTube, everybody's catching catfish and all that stuff. But I remember Marty, I was going to look, Marty, I don't want to go down and hold my breath. I said, you elbow me, okay? When you got one, then I'm going to come under there and you hand it to me, okay? And I mean, remember, I had on a wetsuit, which I didn't know. I had it on backwards for a year, and I didn't know that. Little Tiffany Lacoste said something, Jackie, that's kind of embarrassing. Your thing. I went, oh my God. I went to Walmart and bought like these little Superman and Tweety Bird outfits just to put over my wardrobe malfunction I was having at the time. So, but we had a lot of fun and caught, and we did it for 3 years, and thank God I didn't break an arm or leg, but that was pretty cool. Those girls up there, they did that in the summertime. That was their hobby, and we were just kind of showing different hobbies. But that was pretty cool. But I remember you had your show right there on Sportsman and stuff, and you were saying, hey, what do you think about TV and this? And I said, well, Robert, look, we do TV because we're selling a product. We're selling Buckmasters subscriptions and stuff like that. I said, are you selling a product? Well, I just want to do that. I said, well, it's tough. I'll be honest with you, it's tough to do this and that. And that was kind of my advice to you way back. And then you just said, okay. And then how did you get into where you are now? You got over what triggered you? When I told you that, it was kind of like, yeah, I kind of get it. I'm not selling a product. What triggered that?
Well, when you told me that, I was really just getting really started with Respect Outdoors, and I was hell bent on proving you wrong. So as I proved you right and went broke at the same time, next 3 years, every single time I would get new sponsors and I would up my sponsors, rate. The network would up their rate to match me, and I felt like I am literally trying to carry a 55-gallon drum of water straight uphill, and it's just not working. So along that time, the only real money I ever made was either guiding fishing trips or hog hunting trips or alligator hunting trips, stuff like that. And I had guided the owners of AMS Bow Fishing. I took them on an alligator hunting trip, and it took us pretty much all night, but we finally caught a big 11.6, 11.7, and everyone's tickled. We got all these great pictures. They started sharing it. Well, Sarah, my wife, she was on their pro staff for bow fishing, so she sees my picture and she's like, wow, that guy is hot. No, I'm just kidding. But she friend requests me, and then I see this beautiful girl friend requesting me, which was not ordinary. So I messaged her back, and I'm like, if you're a real human being, let's chat.
Yeah.
So we started chatting back and forth, and I made an excuse to go up to Iowa, and she picked me up in the airport. She lived in Wisconsin. We spent one weekend together, and next thing you know, she quit all her jobs and moved to Florida. And so we started doing our thing, and I realized that would have been in 2012. Then by the beginning of 2013, I had to make a decision. Was I going to continue to drag that 55-gallon drum of water straight uphill, or was I going to take your advice and move off of this. And I also had another buddy, Greg Moutsanides, that kept telling me, he's like, Rob, man, I love watching YouTube. And I had never thought of YouTube as a viable career. But as I started pondering the thoughts of TV, I said, okay, TV is an antiquated, stupid idea. A manufacturer, because it's all about money. TV is about money. That's it. It's a platform for people to advertise, and money is it takes money to advertise. So money drives everything. So I thought, okay, so take the manufacturer. It has to come up with a product this year. The following year, after it's tested and figured it out, get it in the hands of someone like you. You then film with it for a year, and the following year, it's on TV where it may or may not be sold well. And I thought that there has to be a better way. And I thought, well, with YouTube, I could technically go do a video, and it could be a 1-minute video or it could be a 30-minute video. I could edit it, upload it that day, and if something goes wrong with it, I could take it right down. So I'm in my kitchen cooking deer meat. I'm leaned up against my counter, and I'm just pondering, what do I do? And I said, what do I love in this world, man? Because I'm going totally broke, and I'm looking at a cast iron skillet full of deer meat. And I said, man, I really love deer meat. And I said out loud to myself, I said, man, I love deer meat for dinner. And I thought, that has a catch to it. So I went on my phone, deermeatfordinner.com, and it pops up like a cartoon. Buy now, $9.99 on GoDaddy.
Oh, GoDaddy, yeah.
So I literally borrowed Sarah's credit card. So if anyone wonders who owns Deer Meat for Dinner, it's Sarah. We buy deermeatfordinner.com and started a YouTube channel and started a little Facebook channel. Although I don't do a lot on Facebook, I have 150,000. All of my subscribers on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, no advertising ever. Full on 1,000,000% organically grown. I will preface that because I'm going to be fully honest. In the very, very, very beginning, someone was like, oh, you can run an ad and get a bunch of fans on Facebook. I ran an ad for like a day and got a few thousand, but I wasn't the people who liked me on Facebook due to that ad, they weren't engaging in what I was doing. So I thought, that's stupid. That's just a fake number.
Right.
Everything in my whole life has been organically grown. And about a month or 2 months into having Deer Meat for Dinner on YouTube, I had made a video how to clean and cook an alligator. Well, a couple days after I've uploaded that video, I had 805 subscribers. The video had about 1,200 views, and I get a call from Everglades Seasoning, and they said, hey, Kelly Harris is the girl's name. She said, hey, we'd like you to come out and talk to us about the video you made. So I go out there, and they show me around their facility, and their facility was smaller than your cabin, but way smaller than your cabin. Showed me what they did, and I told them, I said, look, I've been eating your Everglades season since I was young, I love it, and this is just what I do. And Mr. Chris Sebring, who owns Everglades, he said, what would you charge me to use it in more videos? And I literally was shocked, because now I have someone willing to pay me for this idea that I just started. And I told him $1,000 a month, because $1,000 a month was rent. I knew if I could get rent covered, I was one step closer to succeeding. And I said, at the end of the year, you're going to pay me $12,000, and you're going to have 24 videos, and it's going to be the best money you ever spent in your whole life. And without even hesitating, he says, I'll take that deal. And I said, when would you like to start? He's like, I'll write you a check for this month and next month right now. And when he said that, tear welled up in my eye, and I knew that I had already beat people to the punch. I knew at that very moment that I had beat people to the punch, because no one knew YouTube was viable. But I knew I just closed a $12,000 deal in 5 minutes with no questions asked and no strings attached. Right. How many times have you seen that happen on TV?
Yeah, really.
Never.
Just
and so
different model. Completely.
It's a different model. So that money that I made with Everglades, it was literally like a breath. It was like life-saving air. And that money meant so much to us. as we've grown, we had 805 subscribers. Now we have over 3 million. We'll get over 1,000 new subscribers today.
Mm-hmm.
Well, now we have the opportunity to donate that money, that $1,000 that they pay us. We can give that to a family that needs it. And I've never raised their rate.
Really?
From the first day to this day, I've
Well,
never raised their rate.
They were there when you needed them.
They're on the side of that bus over there
Yeah.
because every time that I look at that Everglades Seasoning logo, I remember, hey man, that meeting was the proof positive that what I was doing was gonna work.
Now, when you were thinking about what your editorial and your videos had to be, because basically you hunt, you fish, and you cook.
Mm-hmm.
When did you start seeing that work and then doing it as a family? What was clicking and what wasn't clicking?
Well, I mean, think about it. As I grew up as a kid, everything we hunted, we cleaned and we cooked, and that was our life. Well, even on Sportsman Channel with Respect Outdoors, I did the exact same thing. I'd hunt, fish, I'd clean it, I'd cook it. I did the exact same thing on that show. So once I started, we did the same thing on Real Adventures. We'd go fishing, come back, clean the fish, cook the fish in some restaurant somewhere, and we did that all over the world. So this isn't something this isn't a concept I thought up. The platform YouTube just fit my life
And your
perfectly.
timing of being first one in, kind of, over there.
Totally.
And like I said, when we started, we were the first one in after, the All-American Sportsman. So timing is everything in that. And then having a great product. I always say you get one shot in life. So I had one shot to sell sponsors and hope I pulled it off. And we did, and they added more folks. Same thing with you. I mean, you're adding, the folks, you're entertaining. And that was one thing, and you and I both agreed to that. And I told you way back. I said the number one thing when I went out to ask people, what do you want in a hunting show or whatever? The number one thing is they want to sit down and be entertained. And you nail that because I could see your personality and your enthusiasm, and knowing I can't wasn't part of your vocabulary like it wasn't part of mine. I think I was just too dumb and didn't know any difference that we could fail. But you were just hitting it going. And as I said, you'd already tried the TV portion of it. But remember I was saying there's so many. There was 300 or 400. Hunting and fishing shows in the network, so you were blending. You know what I'm saying? I think if you were the first one in, just doing what I was doing, if you did hunting, fishing, cooking, even on TV, you would have been there. But you found that niche and you nailed it, and that's the key. You nailed it right out of the bat, and now you got a beautiful wife, 2 wonderful daughters. You're showing a family atmosphere and a lifestyle that people now. And this pandemic has hurt a lot of people.
Oh, yeah.
But one thing it's done is increase the activity in the outdoors.
Yeah, and it's I see more people riding around on their bicycles as a family. I see more people just doing things as a family now than I ever have before. And so that's a blessing, and that's a blessing in itself there.
But y'all are basically taking your kids on the road with you everywhere you go, and you're homeschooling them basically when you go?
Everywhere we go, our girls go with us. I mean, 2 years ago, we went to the Northern Mariana Islands. It's called the CNMI, the Commonwealth of the Northern Mariana Islands in the Western Pacific. We did a huge expedition to an island called Pagan, which is over 200 miles from any form of civilization. And we lived in a tent for 17 days. We filmed footage there is no one else on earth who owns footage like we have.
Right.
It is undocumented in the way in which we have documented it. My daughters, after 17 days, they didn't want to come home. They thought living in the tent was the best way possible.
Wow.
They just went to Africa with us.
So what's your favorite place?
Favorite place I've ever been on earth? Ooh.
In your adventures, you've done a lot of crazy adventures. What would you say your favorite place would be?
I was with Governor Ralph Torres. We left Pagan and we continued on 135 miles to the island of Mog, living on the boat for 4 days. That was probably leaving my family. It's too long of a story to explain. We were in a storm that night of biblical proportion. I had studied the island of Mog for so long on Google Earth because there are no charts of it. Mm-hmm. So I studied it for so long, and then I had the opportunity to run the boat overnight. And I'd set my course so that we would reach Mog just in the early dawn hours. Mm-hmm. And just as light started to crack, I could see Mog in the distance. And that being one of the most remote islands on Earth, and knowing that we did what it took to get there and then go live there on the hook inside this volcano. It's basically a volcano that comes out of the water, and there's a couple cuts inside.
Yeah.
You drive the boat in, and then there's one little area where you can get an anchor, because it's about 900 feet in the center of it. Right over on the edge, you can get the anchor, and then we built a mooring ball, and then we would go out fishing, and we just got footage, drone footage, underwater footage, topside footage. We caught everything. It was a trip that I could never repeat. Then when we went back to Poggin in the 1700s, they put wild cattle on those islands. And now those cattle are like, it's like hunting wild cattle that are smart like elk.
Really?
It's incredible.
Really?
And they never thought I could kill one with my bow, and
A
I killed
cow.
It's a cow, but dude,
Yeah.
whenever I tell you they are wicked smart,
Yeah.
they use the wind, they understand, and the whole time you're hunting, you're like crawling through and around Japanese pillboxes, and there's bunkers. You walk down the beach, you find ammunition from World War II just laying there like it just
Really?
ended.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
And so to have the opportunity to go and film and experience that with my family, then come back and make videos that not only the people who live in the CNMI can, because no one could ever see, they knew that those islands were out there, but no one ever saw them. No one knew what they were.
Interesting.
So then to make those videos, that's life-changing type stuff to me.
All right, you've done some crazy, over-the-edge stuff. I mean, that's what I'm saying. You jumped off the boat. That did it for me. What's your most dangerous trip or video that you ever did?
I did a expedition through the Iwakramah Forest in Guyana, where we did several hundred miles on a boat way smaller than that.
Really?
Catching some of the most poisonous snakes in the world. I caught a labaria in the middle of the night, semi-arboreal, highly venomous, had crazy dangerous. Came into our camp. I wind up getting him caught, and if you get bit or envenomated, if you get bit at all, you're going to die. And it's going to be a painful, agonizing death. Well, once I get him caught, I've got him like this, but my cameraman couldn't. He's got really long fangs, some of the longest fangs in the world, but he couldn't get a good shot of the fangs. And so he's like, I can't see the thing. So I turn him upside down, which is like what you never do.
Yeah.
Because now the venom can run down the side of the fangs. Because he's sitting there and he's so mad. He's looking at you and he's like flexing his venom glands. So he's got venom coming down the side. And all of a sudden, you know, anytime you fish a lot, you get line cuts.
Yes.
I feel this finger start to burn. Well, I just literally take the snake. I've got him by the tail here, and I like, whoop-ow! Slam him on the ground, grab an axe, run, jump into the river, and I start rubbing mud and moss and everything into my hand, and I'm like feeling of my lymph nodes, and thank the Lord I didn't get it. I don't know what started to burn, but I knew right then it was really bad. And so the next day we were driving down the river. This is a huge river, massive rapids. And one of the Amerindians that's with me, he's the bowman. So I had a 70-year-old man behind me. He was the last person ever to do this river trip, and he had done it 40 years earlier in a dugout canoe.
Wow.
So Freddie's running the boat. Me, I'm here. My cameraman's here. My bowman's up there. And I'm looking at these rapids that we have to go through. Now, typically you're going with the rapid. No, we're going up, so the rapids are coming this way. We've got to go through it. And I looked at Milner and I said, Milner, dude, if we all get separated and it's scrambled eggs and everyone is separated, what way is the nearest road or town? And Milner looks at me and he said, there are no roads. Get your bearing and continue east. And I knew right then, we're at least 500 miles from Georgetown, the only city in Guyana. And east of us would be Georgetown, which means get your bearing and start out on a 500-mile track to Georgetown.
Right.
Well, that is the idea behind whenever I write my memoir, when I write my book and tell the story of everything, it's going to be called No Roads. Because you can't, there is not a roadmap to get here.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? The life that you've lived, the adventures you've been on, what it's taken to get here, what it's taken for you and me. There isn't a map. There's not a manual that tells you how to do this. You get your bearing and continue east.
Yeah.
And there are no roads.
Isn't that something? Well, the snake part, that's where you lose me. I'm out. Everybody, well, I ain't been to Africa. Well, when the snakes can kill you in 10 minutes, I'm out, okay? Everybody, y'all, I watch y'all on TV. Y'all do beautiful African shows, this, that, but I'm out. When those snakes can, if I can get bit and go to the hospital and be fine, I might consider, but no. It's like you said, if you get bit, you're going to die.
Yeah.
All right, talk about your favorite fishing species real quick.
Man, favorite.
What do you like? I know you like to spear fish.
Yeah, I love to spear fish. I mean, spearing yellowfin tuna is never going to get old. I love that. But it would be a combination. I love broadbill swordfish, blue marlin, and throwing crabs to tarpon. Those three fish are probably my three favorite because of the bite. Sword fishing, you're fishing so deep.
Right.
It's a fish that's there's lots of them, but it's a really complicated way to fish.
Oh yeah.
Seeing and understanding the bite, getting that hook. Whenever I'm fishing, my hook is a half mile from me, and you're looking for this little tiny bite. Yeah. Blue marlin have this amazing, beautiful color and power and speed, and then tarpon, it's just something about seeing a fish roll and you throw that crab hits the water, it's like a tick, and then fish comes blowing out of the water. But you know what? Sitting out here on your dock catching bluegills later with my daughter. Oh yeah. That's going to be amazing.
Shoot, yeah.
It's all about having a desire, getting the bite, catching the fish.
Favorite hunting species?
Oh, alligators, because that's a combination of hunting and fishing. It's a really savvy animal. He knows you're there always. You have to kind of trick him into thinking you're fishing, you're a bass fisherman, because if you're a bass fisherman, he'll slide right on up to you. Yeah. But if he thinks you're gator hunting, he's going to constantly stay away. And for me as a guide, I mean, if he wasn't over 10 foot, I didn't want to catch him. Mm-hmm. And the raw power of it, come look at my boat and it's destroyed sounds like they're hitting it with a sledgehammer. Boom! When they smash it, they'll be underwater. Boom! And they just smash my boat, Interesting. And I tell people, look, if everything goes right, this is going to seem easy. Yeah. But if it goes wrong, it's going to seem like hell. Yeah.
All right. What's on your bucket list? I mean, you've been all over the world. You've done fishing, hunting, cooking. What's left on your bucket list?
I'd like to catch about an 8-pound bass this afternoon.
Well, that might be tough, but I'll do the best I can. I know I can do a 3 to 4 pounder for sure. So,
my bucket list right now, we're on a trip called the Big Roll. Mm-hmm. I've never driven through Canada. I've never driven through Alaska, and I've done all the studying I can do. I'm as prepared as I can possibly be. I have a great team around me. My family's with me, and this is our first stop. So from here, we're going to continue through the country, go all the way through Canada and Alaska. So my bucket list right now is to have this all go well. My family enjoy one another, enjoy the opportunity and the experiences. My bucket is always what's in front of me. I try not to think too far ahead, and I just try to capitalize on whatever opportunity presents itself.
Well, you got a wonderful family, and what you do as far as sharing the message of our unbelievable lifestyle, and you're doing it with your wife and beautiful girls right there. I thank you. I thank you for your friendship, and I'm so proud of what you've done out there on the YouTube and the influencer and how you're educating folks. It's just, life here is very short.
Amen.
And you got to do it and meet the good folks and just do the best you can, and you've done that, and I'm proud of you.
Well, thank you very much. It all goes back to being grateful and having a good network. I try to surround myself with solid people that have similar values as I do, similar desires as I do, similar work ethic as I do, and I also, at the end of the day, I do my best, and I just thank God for the opportunity to do it. I'm very, very grateful. I know that if not for the grace of God, I wouldn't be here, and we're only shadows and dust.
You-
Our trip, our life is just like a blink of an
Oh,
eye.
you're so true. It is so true. All right, folks, if you're listening today, if you hadn't checked out Deer Meat for Dinner on YouTube, you are missing out because he is the man. Lovely wife, Miss Sarah, and the 2 daughters. We've just had a lot of fun talking and reminiscing. I got to get him a turkey in the morning. So, but that does it for today's Buckmasters Outdoors podcast. Check in soon. We'll have another great guest, Robert Arrington, Deer Meat for Dinner.
We gone.